It's going. There we are.
There it is.
I'm not going to tweet about it. Sorry, even though I know that bumps our numbers, but I want that last tweet to be the top tweet.
Yeah, there you go.
So, okay. Just checking
Fair
to
enough.
see. Okay. You said you had something, Brad?
I had something. Have you guys seen some of the bad press that Cloudflare's been getting lately because of an outage?
Oh,
Yes,
no,
I
I didn't
did.
see that.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. We released this blog post, and I'll pop it right here, about this outage that we had where our tenant API went down. It's like this API that powers the dashboard. And
That's your team, right?
dashboard is my team. We don't own any of the backend APIs.
Okay.
We have
Mm.
an entire backend and API team for all that stuff. But they kind of blamed it on like a use effect that went haywire. And Theo released actually a really good video recapping this, where like while the use effect was firing a lot, it was really changes to the tenant API that like caused all these problems. And I will say though, step one, you have to acknowledge like, okay, it was API changes that went out that caused the problem, and they should have been rate limiting, and they should have like done better job scaling, right? But this use effect thing, when I first got hired and I looked at the code base, I was like, holy crap, that's a lot of ESLint ignores for use effect dependency arrays. And now there's a giant project to go clean it all up. That's coming down
I
the
thought you
pipe.
cleaned
So
some of it up.
I cleaned a bunch of it up. But what we're about to, one of the first things I said was, oh my gosh, this should not be a warning. This should be an error on every use effect dependency array.
Mhm.
And so we're going to flip that rule, disable, like put ESLint disables in front of all of them, and then one by one go solve them.
Yeah.
Because somebody's like, we could just auto fix all these. I'm like, no, you can't.
Yeah,
Adding things
that's
to your
dangerous.
dependency array is going to cause way more problems. But
Mm.
yes, we need to make it this way. Anyways, very interesting situation. And I actually looked at the React compiler to just see if it could solve it for us. And I was able to get it
Mhm.
integrated into the whole project. It was like actually pretty easy. The compiler does not do this. I figured out that the React compiler's job is essentially to prevent re-renders, meaning like, you'll memoize expensive
Yeah, I was
functions,
going to say it's
you'll
big on
provide
use memo.
and use callback as well. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't look at your use effect dependency arrays and like make those stable references. So if you're creating a new object every time, it's not going to care unless it somehow deems that calculation is expensive. So it will prevent a re-render of a component, but not look at optimizing anything in the use effect dependency array, which in my opinion would have been a banger. Like I feel like they're one step away from compiling that. Why not? So
Yeah.
I wrote this big internal blog post. I was like, compiler's not going to do us any favors. Like it's kind of pointless. It actually caused other infinite use effect loops after running it through
yeah.
the compiler. So I don't know. Word of caution: don't just chuck it in a project and act like it's gonna solve your problems.
AI, right?
AI. I did a lot of
It
that by
solves
hand.
everything.
Have you used Raycast's AI feature where you just throw out some tasks?
No, I haven't. Yeah, because isn't that the one that like hooks up with GitHub too and everything? Yeah.
Have you used it yet?
I have. It's kind of interesting because there's parts of it that's like, this is the dream. Because I threw it a bunch of tasks and then I went and made dinner. And it's like, I'm not at my computer. I'm working,
That's so nice.
There were some things that worked great and then some things that were like not so great. So like I'm trying to think so one task I gave it, Brad, was I said, here's the compressed FM repo. Add Blue Sky as a social media account. And I think I just said we have Sandy on the back end, just go into there and add it as a feature. But the thing is, like, there's still knowledge here that like it just doesn't have context for. So I still had to
Yeah.
go in and be like, okay, now I'm going to add it to the front end. I'm going to pull it from here.
Mm-hmm.
Like trying to make sure, no, you got to add the icon. I've got to add the SVG. You can't just pull that. Like it doesn't just know about it. So there's still a lot of prep work you have to do in terms of assets and things like that.
Assets for sure.
Yeah. And there's also been a few things too. Like I got a notification the other day. I have like a ton of sites on Vercel where it's like we're upgrading our Node version. And so now these sites are no longer supported. You need to go in and upgrade Node. And so I was like, great, AI, upgrade my version of Node. And there were a few times where it like ran into package problems where I'm like, okay, well, I need to go in and resolve these.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little bit more complicated than I wanted it to be. Trying to do it's like there's still manual work involved, but I mean at least it kind of kick-started the process. One thing I will say though is it's a little bit, I know anybody's going to run into this when you're doing PR review on an actual person's code, but sometimes it is easier when you're like working with AI to work on a task because you can see the updates as it's making it instead of trying to like figure all that out on the backside when you're reviewing the PR to be like, no, why did you do that? You don't have that thinking commentary while it's making changes.
Yeah. And I'll literally stop and just be like, hold on, why? And explain this and explain that. And I'll be like, oh, okay, now I'm up to speed. Like it'll just be a step ahead of you.
Yeah.
And then you'll catch up and you go, okay, I get it. I've been having really good luck with AI lately, not just sending it out to do stuff, but like as I'm working with it, it's working with me. And like it's a nice kind of relationship there.
We need to have Nick Nisi on the podcast. So I hung out with him last week. He was formerly JS Party. Now I'm on the Dysfunctional podcast with him. Our schedule is incredibly dysfunctional. So if you go look for those episodes, but he is working at WorkOS and he was telling me about his AI setup with like sub agents and tasks. And it sounds crazy pants. And he's like, I built a dashboard so I can see who's working on what AI agents are waiting for me to answer what questions.
Oh my God.
Like all
That's
the things.
wild.
He was like, and there was something, I'm probably going to butcher these numbers, but it's, even if they're butchered, it's still crazy what he's actually doing. He's like, I manage 17 open source repos. And I'm doing sub agents on everything to help manage the work and merge in PRs. And I'm like, what in the world? This is crazy. So I definitely want to see his, and that one I'm like, it needs to be a video episode because I want to see this dashboard he keeps talking about.
Same. That sounds really interesting, but I also worry, like, that's a lot of context switching, and maybe if it's small tasks, it's fine. But when you have to dive into something more serious, how is it going to help you with that?
The way he describes it is he's like literally turned himself into a manager. And so he has like all these sub agents with different team roles where he's like, I'll have somebody that's like managing the work that will report back to me what all the sub agents are doing and like stuff like that I'm like, I need to see this setup.
My buddy Jordan, we used to work together at Atlassian. He is now working at an AI company called Replicate. And that's kind of his workflow. He's got many, many like sub agents. They're all doing things. And he has agents that manage agents. And he's like, that's how you bring order to it all.
Yeah. The other one he said that's really helpful is he has a sub agent. So he's working in Claude Code, but he has a sub agent that its job is to be a ChatGPT 5 consultant. And so he said, what will happen though is Claude will start going and this ChatGPT consultant will double check it against ChatGPT. And he was like, for whatever reason, that one thing helps keep my Claude Code instance on the rails because it keeps it in check. He's like, sometimes things will start to spiral. That prevents it from spiraling by having that other sub agent.
Interesting.
Like, crazy.
Talk about like scaling up costs though too with that. That's kind of wild. You think about that's expensive.
He's spending at least $200 a day.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like,
it has to be an enterprise plan.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
I was
there's no other way you're doing this like one-off.
Right. Well, and I was like, isn't that the purpose of the Claude Pro Max plan? And he's like, yeah, but I just ran out of tokens with that.
Oh my
like,
God.
what in the world? Did you guys see that post where some kid was like, "I've changed my sleep patterns based on my
Yes.
AI tokens"? I was like,
For the reset, yeah.
Yeah,
so
that's
crazy.
hilarious.
So crazy. So for
Um,
anybody listening, what he does is he like sits down and works until he runs out of tokens. And then he's like, okay, I'm done with tokens. I'm going to go take a nap for 2 hours. Then when he wakes up, he has more tokens, works another few hours, and then goes back to sleep. I'm like, I can't.
has anybody else upgraded to what is it, Tahoe?
Tahoe? No.
Yes, I have on
Bob?
both my machines.
What do you think?
Okay, I like it because it's a new look. I think Apple across iOS and macOS has sort of lacked a consistent look over the last few years as they've sort of upgraded things. However, I do know, yeah, Wally's booing Tahoe in the chat. I do notice that it's causing slowdowns when I like swipe virtual desktops. Like I'm on an M4 Pro, like it's ridiculous. And Wally tried upgrading, and it like bricked his screen and laptop now. Like, is the weirdest thing. Yeah.
Um,
It looks
my
pretty.
take is I hate the design, like the liquid glass look. I find it very hard to read and very distracting with now you can see backgrounds behind it. But I will say, talking about that like Mac and iOS crossover, they got the phone app on the Mac, which is absolutely sick. I'm really liking some of the new like just kind of controls on iOS. Like the bottom bar seems to be very useful now. They redid the Photos app. The last one I thought was terrible, and this one I think
Yeah.
navigates much better. Like on the whole, design aside, I really, really like it so far. And Amy, you opened talking about Raycast. I was like, ooh, I am gonna go back to like native Spotlight for a minute and see what I think because they
Mhm.
added a lot of Raycast features into the native Spotlight. Um, but I don't think it'll be enough to pull me away. But I just want to kind of see how it feels to do everything native.
I thought about that as well. Did either of you play with the betas whatsoever during their development?
Yes,
Mm-mm.
I have the beta on my phone and on my iPad, but not on my computer. As much as I am an early adopter, I do not early adopt the Mac OS. Like, stay on the old stuff until it hurts.
Yeah, I feel like I should have in hindsight, but I was just like, oh yeah, shiny new thing. And then I thought about it as I was installing it. I'm like, this is my work laptop. And if it messes up, I'm screwed. Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
I'll do that
noticed
next time.
I noticed a little iOS slowdown, but nothing on macOS.
Mm.
Yeah, I think Snow Leopard, whatever version that was. I know it's
Oh,
forever ago.
that brings
I'm
me
not
back
on
to
that
college.
now. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Same.
But that was the one that I was like super slow to adopt, and I'm so glad I did because when I did upgrade it, totally blew up my dev environment. But because I was
Oh.
slow, everybody had already worked through everything. And so it was super easy to fix and get back on board. And that was from that moment on, I've been like, I'm going to be slow to adopt Mac OS. I'll put the new stuff on my phone, on my iPad, but not on my computer. Because as you said, that's work, that's my livelihood. I can't risk that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have been. Man, Snow Leopard really does bring me back. And what was the one before that too? Because that was my first
There's
time
like
owning a Mac.
was one
Was it
of
regular
them.
Leopard?
Maybe, I don't know. That was when they were in the big cat phase.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there was so I will share this and then we can actually say get into the podcast. I feel like we should have started because this has been good conversation. The phone has a new feature called polls. And I sent a few polls to friends trying to be like, hey, what works for you? Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, whatever, vote. And forgetting that I had the developer version and not really knowing what was on the developer version. And so then nobody would respond to me. And I'm like, realized in hindsight, oh, wait, they can't even see when I'm posting. My message probably made 0 sense to them. And I've got to follow back up and do it like the old fashioned way.
I'm curious to see what they got.
I think they got nothing because I asked. I sent a screenshot. I said, is this what you see?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we got nothing.
Interesting how they handle that.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been smarter to degrade gracefully. But yeah, that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, let's go ahead and start. This is already a great conversation, as I knew it would be. Okay, let me find the music. Okay.
So fancy.
I don't know about that. Oh, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Compressed FM, a podcast all about web design and development with a little bit of zest. In today's episode, we have our good friend Ryan talking about transitioning into tech by building in public and open source.
Web development and design, who would have guessed? Well, we can do them both, even add a little zest. So turn up the volume, get ready for the best. Let's get it started in this episode of Compress.
Hello, my name is Amy Dutton, and I'm currently looking for my next role. So if you want your name to be in the title, reach out.
Amy selling sponsorship spots for herself on the podcast. Heck yeah.
Love it.
You get your name mentioned every single episode. How great would that be?
Hey, y'all. My name is Brad Garapi. I'm a senior systems engineer at Cloudflare. Still getting used to that one.
And as I mentioned, we have our good friend Ryan. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I'm Ryan Furr. I'm a design engineer at Pragma.
Awesome.
Super happy. Super stoked.
I realized after we started the intro that I was like, I don't even know exactly how to say your last name. I could have guessed, but I emceed a conference last week. So I should have known better in trying to, I mean, everybody came through. How do you pronounce your name? I even asked people that had easy names. So I was like
I would too.
Doynes. Yeah, you just have to,
Yeah.
you never know. Never know.
Oh, I'd be freaked out if I messed it up. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So I even felt bad the names that I was kind of like hesitant about because you want to be announced with authority. So I'm like, hopefully that was more in my head than it was out loud.
Oh, yeah. Which
Ryan, you
conference was
surprised
it?
me. You surprised
yeah?
me with the title, design engineer. I did not expect that. I feel like it's a rare one.
So I was kind of surprised to see it as well, because from what I've seen as well, like, you do a search for design engineer, and a lot of times it's mechanical engineering. But it is relatively new in like the web space, I feel like. Technically at my job, like everyone's a software engineer. But when was it? After my take-home exam with the or in my interview, it was like, it's a design engineer role. And so I feel like when everyone learns what that means, it's more expressive as to what I do rather than just software engineer, which is why I choose to go with it.
Yeah, for sure. I've been saying the official Cloudflare title, senior systems engineer. Everybody's a systems engineer at the company. They don't actually have specific descriptions. I should just say front end engineer because that's what it is.
Titles are funny. Mine's like mine was a weird one at Redwood because it was like designer in residence because all the VC companies are in residence. But it was strange when I got that title because it sounded like a step down from director of design to designer in residence. It sounds almost like you're a doctor in practice, but it's just a different type of industry and how they name things.
Oh,
Ultimately, put
interesting.
whatever you want on your resume.
Basically, yeah. I mean, whatever describes it best. I remember seeing yours before, Amy. I'm like, that is an interesting title that I never would have thought of.
Yeah,
But titles in this industry especially just make no sense to me across the board. Like, it's so overwhelming with like, what do I look for? So it's a lot.
Yep, for sure. Brad, you are more
great.
prepared than I am.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you on because, first of all, great friend of ours, and I just want to hear all about the beginning, the middle, the end of this whole transition into tech, this job search, and I'm also particularly interested in like, now you're here, how does everything feel? What's good? What's bad? What's different? But we'll start at the beginning, I suppose, and just talk about motivation. Like, what kicked off the whole process for you?
Yeah. Oh man, it brings me back to like 2019, late 2019, early 2020. What started the process for me? Well, I had left my music world and my music career like 2 years prior, and I was kind of floundering around looking for what am I going to do with the rest of my life or whatever, and coding computers were like always something that interested me, but I never really gave the time of day because I had music. That was my first love, my first passion, all that jazz. And so I said, let me give coding a shot, and that's what made me decide to jump into it. I mean, on top of it was money, but that wasn't even the motivator, right? Like, I just said I need something that's gonna make me enough money that I can live comfortably, not extravagantly. And I knew that whatever direction in tech that I went, it could offer me that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great career to go into, period, if you're looking for, I feel like something that's engaging and like well compensated.
Yeah. Oh, dude, the engagement is something huge, I think, and that's, I mean, something that for me, it's a really nice change of pace. I mean, in 2020, I started this job my previous job as a buyer at government subcontractors, and within the first 6 months, I knew that was not for the long haul because it was just mundane, the same thing day in and day out, and it just, yeah, it ate up my energy in a completely different way than software engineering does.
And there's something about people who do music, like, I feel like your brain works and your brain analyzes, and like, I have a music background. A ton of software engineers have music backgrounds. Amy,
Mhm.
do you have any musical talent, music background?
I played the French horn in marching band.
There you go.
Oh shoot, French horn is not easy.
Well, I was in band, but I felt like it was one of those things that I could just do. I wasn't necessarily stellar at. I do appreciate music, but being in Nashville, there are a ton of musicians that also code. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what kind of like drew me towards front end engineering was having that creativity still be able to be flexed. As much as music is very different, at least it was still that muscle that I was getting to use. But I floundered around. Like at first I thought, oh, I'll take the CompTIA A+ exam and get that certification and become an IT guy. And then I thought, oh, maybe I'll go into networking. And then I thought AWS cloud architecture looks interesting. And eventually I found my way back to front end. And just it's what stuck with me.
I know none of that stuff goes to waste though, because there's so much that I wish that I knew about AWS and backend architecture that I just don't.
Same. It's like I joke about it at work now, but most of my colleagues are primarily backend engineers, and they'll talk about something I have no idea what they're talking about. Oh, they're building an SDK, blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, no, that's eventually I'll get there. But I just can't even think about learning that right now.
I see those documents with all the arrows and the boxes for AWS. I'm just like, I don't know. It's a good way to get me to hit the back button.
yeah. Not to mention the perhaps not pleasant design of AWS in general. The UI UX is not great, so
it is one thing though that I want to learn. Like I was looking at SMS or in sending email systems, and AWS is so cheap. Like it is crazy how cheap it is. But then you have all these other systems like Resend and Postmark and ConvertKit that are all built on top. Well, ConvertKit has some of their own custom stuff, but they're all built on top of AWS. And it's like, does that not say anything that all these companies are built on top of their infrastructure and just reselling it or repackaging it in their own way?
Oh yeah, look at all these AI wrappers we have now, right?
Yeah,
it's the same. It's the same thing, just in its
true.
different product.
Yep.
Let's talk about like how you actually went about learning everything. I feel like development is huge. Just the general concept of just the general concept of programming is, I think, difficult to ramp up on. But then when it comes to web, you've got like front end, the back end. They go wide, they go deep. Talk about your learning process. What you used, what you thought was easy, what you thought was hard, what you struggle with the most.
Oh man, definitely what I've struggled with the most and still do is the functional engineering side, which I know Brad, you and I have spoken about before, is the stuff that actually makes things work, right? Easy for me is CSS, making stuff look good, knowing what to look for when people are having those layout issues or whatever it might be. And part of that is I think also like having taste, which is a topic that's come up more and more, I feel like recently. I don't know that it's something you do or don't have, but I think a lot of individuals start with more than others. But as for learning, I started with Codecademy and Treehouse. Um, Codecademy, they and Treehouse, they both offer like some subscription service, and you get these courses. And I think Treehouse worked a little bit better for me than Codecademy. I think at the time it was purely text based, and Treehouse had videos associated with it. And it's nice because it offers some structure. At the time, going back to school wasn't an option for me. Part of the reason why I stopped going to music school was because of the mountain of debt that I had from it. And so, yeah, going back to school kind of like freaked me out in that aspect. But I didn't actually complete anything in Codecademy, in Treehouse. I looked at Free Code Camp, of course. I bought Udemy courses, YouTube. I don't think I ever completed one actual thing, which is kind of terrible. But I also don't think it's very uncommon. And I think what helped me a lot, and something that's stuck with me, I think, Brad, since I met you at that conference, was you had DM'd me and you're like, I thought the way you talked about things, I thought you had a job. You're still looking. And I have to attribute that to like community created blogs. I read so many things that maybe were above my knowledge base, but it exposed me to all these different conversations and topics and technologies that that's sort of how I was able to go wide on things. I never really got too deep on things. So eventually I decided, okay, Ryan, like stick with what you're good at and go deep on there. So I went more towards the design engineer role, which again, like you said, is kind of new, but here we are.
That's interesting that you say that about courses. So I have a Notion database of all the courses that I've bought and where I am in all of those. And most of them I have not finished, but I finally got to the point where I put a field in there that said, like, if I got to the point where I got the information that I wanted out of it, like, to me, that course is still worthwhile if I got that information. And so I would, type in that, yes, I figured this thing out. That's what I needed it for. And I can be done with it. And it kind of gets you off the hook for having to necessarily go through all the course content and learn things that you may already know or things that aren't applicable, and really focus on the stuff that's helpful.
I love that idea. Actually, I'm gonna steal that, because it is like, you feel like this. I spent the money on this stuff, I should complete it, and then you're just completing things for the sake of doing it. But you're right. Like, I mean, let's face it. We don't buy Udemy courses at full price. We buy them for $8 to $13.
Yep.
But if you get your $8 worth of that course, then it was worth it. You just call it a day.
Yeah.
I'm doing that after this.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Give yourself a pass.
Mhm.
I think you mentioned like the more difficult thing when it comes to learning, though, is having like a course plotted for you. Like, to me, I had a hard time knowing what to learn first, what to learn second, what to learn third. How did you like navigate that path?
Here's the cool part, is that you don't. At least I didn't.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that was like the most appealing thing for school or boot camp at the time, was someone else does this structure for me, or following along with Treehouse or whatever. And that lack of structure, I think, is one of the most difficult parts of being a self-taught, community-taught, however you want to put it. I tried several different things, I think something that I realized pretty early on, though, was you're never done learning, and you never fully master something or know something. You might get very comfortable with it. I mean, I don't know. You could make a counter argument that, yeah, I mastered semantic HTML. But overall, I think you just get really comfortable with things, and then you feel like you can move on, right? So for me, it was more of I feel comfortable doing this. I could do it in a reasonable amount of time. Okay, let me move on to the next part. But it was difficult, especially once you get into the weeds with JavaScript and React. Yeah, it was pretty annoying, honestly, because I felt like I would start, stop, and restart over and over again. I think the most important thing eventually was realizing what actually gets used. And I didn't get that knowledge until I started working on shared code bases or larger projects, and seeing like, oh, this is the code that gets used 90% of the time. This is what I need to focus on getting comfortable with.
Yep, for sure.
And it doesn't help that, like, I feel like React was changing a lot. You said 2019 was around the time when you
Oh,
were
yeah. Yeah.
React was changing a lot then, and it doesn't help that they're trying to radically shift what they're doing, and so is the industry. And you have to like keep up with that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like I remember walking in, people were getting out of class components, right? Like those were
Hmm.
older,
Hmm.
and the new wave was coming in. Hooks became large, if I remember correctly, and so you had to learn these things, and then the other part of it too is all these different resources. There's no one best way of doing things, and so as I don't care if you're a beginner or you are experienced learning something new. Anytime you're learning something new, people will have their how they think you should learn it, they think you should do it. It's the same thing with resume advice. You can go to 10 different people and get 10 different answers. It's the same way with how should I do this thing in JavaScript. It's not easy, but I had to kind of just power through it, I feel like, and I wish I had a better answer than that, but I tried and tried and tried and finally got somewhere.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head though when you're talking about getting into larger code bases and seeing the things that people
Mm,
are actually using. Because I know for me, stuff has finally started to click once I start building something. When I was trying to learn React, so I was migrating from jQuery. I dabbled a little bit in Vue, so some of that stuff translated. But
mhm.
I took Wes Boss's React course, and in that particular course, he gives you all the components that you need so you can just focus on the React JavaScript stuff. And so then I was like, okay, I kind of know what I'm doing. Let me go build something. And that was hard trying to start from scratch and figure out, okay, how do I set up all these things? But it's like once you do that, when you see error messages, you know what they mean, you know how to solve them. What at that time, knew what to Google, what to look at Stack Overflow for. Now AI is a little bit more helpful in that regard, but it's that real world application that really solidifies that knowledge for you.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, like you said, you learn those patterns. As much as engineering is fun, that it's typically unique problems or situations that you might find yourself in. I think there's a lot of times where you can find patterns in those issues that we're debugging or fixing. And you're right, like finding those real world usage. Case in point, my brother came to me, "Hey, why is this not working in this?" And I looked at it and said, "Oh, because you have flex on it and it's taking up the full width." And then, "Oh, okay, that makes sense now," kind of thing. But a year ago, maybe I would have had to do more digging in to find that. But now, just a matter of getting exposed to it regularly, right?
Yeah. I'm halfway convinced that one of the big differences between a junior and a senior developer is the senior developer is just seeing more error messages. Because at that
I
point,
love
like
that.
you know what you're doing, you know how to solve for those things, and okay, this worked last time. I know what to do this time.
Oh yeah, I mean,
more often
yeah. Go ahead.
more often than not, I find myself though in situations where it's an unknown, and instead of just falling back to knowing exactly what to do, you have to tell yourself, "I can figure this out. This is all
Mhm.
code. This is logical. You need to
Mm,
walk through, connect the dots," and having that faith in yourself and that ability to like trace things through, I think is what becomes more valuable as you deal with more code, larger code bases, experience different projects, stuff like that.
that's a really, really good point, and it's something that I had to, especially now with AI being around and being a junior engineer. But like, it's so easy to quickly turn to let me ask AI or let me ask a more experienced person for this. But working through a problem, and yeah, you're gonna Google things, and like Amy said, okay, I mean now AI is a little bit more helpful. But I think especially when you're learning, you have to go through that hard part. You have to go through the part where you struggle a bit, and then you eventually figure it out. And that comes from like even on a team, like I'll time block myself and say, okay, I'll give myself
Yep.
30 minutes of struggling. And if it's not that, because I'm, literally getting paid now for this, I don't want to eat up an hour of their time. But yeah, and then you go ask for help after that.
I'm
Exactly.
share an interview. I should save this for like a pick because it's so good. Oh, sorry, Twitch, you're gonna see it twice. But um but it's so good. So I was on an airplane this week and I watched this interview with Simon Sinek. If you've not heard of him, he's kind of the why guy. He's the one that says you always have to find your why and that drives everything else. But he did this interview with oh, I don't even remember the guy's name. Steve Bartlett, maybe. He does the Diary of a CEO. And part of the premise of the interview, as Simon was saying, the unfortunate part about AI is we don't struggle through things. And it's really that struggle that makes us better and gives us that experience. But it also creates a product that we're a lot more proud of because we know the struggle that went along with it. So, for example, he was talking about, I wrote a book. Like I had to sit down and write a book. I had to put ideas on a sheet of paper. I didn't ask AI. I didn't prompt it. I wrote the words. And so it really made me think when I was watching that interview, what are the things that I've asked AI to do over the last couple of years instead of necessarily letting myself struggle? And what did I miss out? What growing opportunities did I miss because I asked a robot to do it instead of doing it myself?
That is,
Yeah,
yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. Good, Brad.
if you view it as like a speed multiplier rather than like a do things that you can't do,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's how you view it. Then you feel like you're fighting with it less, then you feel like it's giving you a real benefit, and then you still get to do the innovative things, the fun
Mm-hmm.
things, the things that push you.
Yeah. At the conference that I was at, we had lunch with a guy that's very junior. Actually, I'm not even sure if he's out of college yet, but he was talking about his struggle in trying to determine how do I use AI. It was like, I know that it's relevant to our industry. I know I need to know how to use it, but I also really need to know how to program. And so where's the
Mhm.
balance between those two things?
I've said that. I mean, I've given this answer to like other juniors, and it's using it as a helper rather than doing things for you. And so you ask it, how do I do this, and explain it to me. And like we've discussed about this in our Discord before, where you can use AI to always explain this to me. Don't just do, like, you can give it very explicit directions, and that's kind of what I've done. Where unless it's something simple, if I'm like, hey, I just made this change, go ahead and make this into these two other places. That's one thing, and that's doing something that I'm very capable of doing, but it'll do it faster. Versus, I'm unsure of the best way to do this. Tell me your reasons why you think, what my options are, what I should go with, and why. And you're learning from it. You're using it in that case as a senior engineer that I could turn around and ask a question to, right?
Right.
That's one of the ways I think juniors can use it, but you also still have to take that with a grain of salt because, as we see, AI is not perfect.
Yeah. I think that's my most frustrating part is you ask it to do something I'm not totally sure how to do, and then it goes off the rails. And it's like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't even know at what point you went off the rails because I don't even know what should have happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about the job search. You gain the skills that you need. I guess maybe how long did learning take? And then we'll talk about job search, how long that took, stuff like that.
Learning is never done. But learning until I felt comfortable and actually job ready. I mean, it was on and off since late 2019, right? So I really started looking for jobs in 2024. And so let's just call it, 4.5 years, 5 years. And that's a long time, right? That's a really long time. But, you also have to take into account that I was learning part time. There were months maybe where I didn't learn, where all I did was read technical blogs or watch videos, which again, I think is crucial to me having retained things or just learned other topics. But I was in a relationship and eventually got married and now getting divorced. But so I was balancing that. I was working full time, whatever else is going on in life. So yeah, it took a lot. And actually, I was just talking to a friend about this the other day, but it was the working after work. It was the, hey, I have 3 hours a night available to me. I'm going to put that towards learning rather than playing World of Warcraft, which I was doing very, very extensively in 2016, 2017. And it was a big adjustment. So yeah, so the job search for me really started in 2024 after I attended that conference, and things kind of opened up for me a lot. This doesn't mean people were throwing jobs my way, but it was more of finally entering the community. I found a lot of people that just wanted to help me, and my first night at that conference, I was at the bar with Danny Thompson, Braden Coyer, and Shashi Lowe, and like they're literally like, why don't you have a job yet? Like, let's figure out what's going on. And like, I think it's also hard as someone who is transitioning careers is that you're told just apply, just apply, just apply, but that feeling of I never know enough just doesn't go away. I still feel like in early 2024, I didn't know enough to really be of value. And gone were the times where you could sneeze JavaScript or React and get a job, right? The bar has continually risen since 2020, I feel like. So since then, since that conference, I worked with James Q Quick and a few others on deals for devs, which was fun. You know, that was like a part-time thing. I did Gridiron Survivor by Shashi Lo. It's like an apprenticeship that he does for free, and that was a really, really, really powerful, good learning opportunity. I took part in the Dallas Software Developers cohort last year. It was a 6-week cohort where you team up with other developers to build an app. Various open source contributions that just, you know, getting to see more code bases, jumping in and out. And then I had a couple of contracting opportunities. So those things continued to teach me along the way, and I think made me feel more empowered for the job search. The job search itself, though, man, I mean, like I said, I was looking since January 24, and it took until, when did I get my job offer? I started August. Yeah, I started August 4th. So yeah, it took quite some time.
What was your sticking point? Was it like getting the interviews or getting through the interviews?
Both.
Okay.
Both. There was a couple seasons where like interviews were much more common for me, which was great. And then it was getting through the interviews that I was failing. I never in my life did I think I would struggle with behavioral sides of interviews. Like I think I'm pretty well spoken and things like that. And it seems like those people that I was interviewing with at those behavioral interviews were maybe looking for something that I wasn't offering. The other part of it was the technical aspect, though. Yeah, go ahead on the behavioral side, because I think it's really interesting.
They're tricky because people are looking for very specific traits, and literally practicing a behavioral interview isn't like being well spoken and having some stories and experiences you can fall back on. It's like putting yourself in the shoes of the interviewer to be like, what are they looking for? And you just go through enough and you collect enough feedback to be like, these are the keywords. I'm just going to say that. And it sucks, but like, that's how that is.
Yes.
Like, interviewing in and of itself is a skill that you need to learn to get your first job, especially on these behavioral ones, even on like stuff like system design, which like is kind of nebulous. You just kind of have to point at the right things, and then they'll go, you know what you're talking about. And it's much less of like a concrete put code on the screen and make it work type of thing. You just have to work through yourself, and you know, maybe throwing it into the mix for other like career transitioners or people trying to get a job. Do mock interviews or talk to your friends and be like, do you want to like try to grill me for an hour or something on this? And maybe that's something that we need to like talk about practicing more rather than just the fundamentals.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point. And I think on the topic of the behavioral side of things, it's not something personal when you don't move forward at a company because of that. Like, okay, maybe if you're just like really, really not well suited for the behavioral side of things, you have to work on various parts of how you speak or whatever it may be, because that's part of it. But especially in today's world of, I'm looking for the next cracked engineer that can, you know, they're looking for a specific kind of person. And if you're not that person, they're going to move forward with someone that does carry that energy, I think. And that's where I think it's unfortunate, right? Behavioral interviews are very subjective, in my opinion, as to what that interview is looking for. Technical interviews, though, yeah, it tends to be a bit more of, do you know, do you not know? Are you comfortable using this thing or are you not? And that's where I said before, you know, the functional engineering side of things is my weakness. It's something I'm always trying to get. It just does not click in my head like other parts of things. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. We all have those parts where we just cannot seem to grasp it. But yeah, you know, and then there's the whole getting an interview, right? Is your resume up to snuff? Are you applying to 10 plus jobs every day? How many people are applying for the job? You know, right? Like, there's all these things to take into account that it's ridiculous. I remember I had an interview that I think I was one of like 1,500 applicants for, And like, first of all, the fact that I got an interview is shocking, in my opinion. But the guy was also looking for, it was a 0 to 3 years experience window, and he was looking for a unicorn. And after the first interview, it was a good interview, like it was a good conversation. I just knew I didn't get it. I was like, I'm not what he's looking for. And that was, I think, November last year, maybe, December. I don't know where I'm going with this, but there's a lot of things that are not in your control, so you have to continue to work at what is, and that is, I think, your technical skills, how you conduct yourself, and if what you've been doing isn't working, you have to try something new. So that means updating your resume to something that is just going at it from a different direction. Then do that.
I was talking with this about. I cannot talk today. I was talking to Jordan about this the other day, Jordan in chat, and he's making this kind of like a resume or job application tracking app. And
Mhm.
have you ever seen Monarch Money? How they have like a flow diagram of like, here's where your money goes, here's your paycheck.
What do they
and
call that?
everything
A
splits off.
mermaid diagram, I think.
Is that it?
I think so.
This is a little bit different, I think. If it's the diagram I'm thinking of. Like a mermaid one does show flow, but this is like when you have like
Sankey chart. There it is.
Sankey chart, he says. Okay.
Ooh,
So
I thought you came up with that, Ryan. I was like, wow, where'd you pull that from?
I wish.
It's in the chat. In the chat.
Yep.
he was doing this for job applications and interviews and like how things are going. And you need to view it like that. Like it's just a percentage game. You start with this many. This many you never even talk to somebody. This many you get auto rejected. This many you fail, like it just you wind up with the one that's meant for you, and you have to view it like that because out of so many other reasons that are out of your control, you're missing out on a job that you could have been qualified for, but like it just doesn't happen. Yeah, apptrack.ing. That's an awesome domain name, dude. I don't know
That's
how you snag
perfect.
that. Really good.
Yeah, and I think that's a really, really good way of looking at it. I also have this idea of looking at, let's say you're looking at a position, a title, and you're not sure what you should learn first. So you can take those job applications and sort of filter out the top 3 most in-demand skills. Okay, in a lot of cases these days, it's going to be React, JavaScript, Tailwind, I guess. But you could look at those points where maybe you're weakest, and you could address those. So, yeah, Jordan, I think that's an awesome project. I'm gonna have to check that out.
All right. Well, I want to get to like the big end goal here. Like you got hired. Talk to us about the company you work for, how excited you are about it, and then I want to hear about like the realism working in software development full time, because it's not
Dude.
all what is it? Roses and something. I can't.
Yeah.
I cannot talk today.
No, that's
Rainbows and
all right. Yeah.
butterflies.
Yes,
There you
there it is. I don't remember what it was either. So I think I would consider myself very, very lucky and fortunate, because this job found me. Literally, I didn't know it existed before I had heard about it. So I don't know. Some point last year, like every other month or so, I'd put out like a post on Twitter and LinkedIn, like, "Hey, by the way, this is what I'm still looking for," because I found that people, I don't think that people are thinking about me all the time. That's not what I mean by this. But people would forget that you're looking, right? People would think, oh, he's working. Like, I remember posting that, oh, I got this contract job. Okay, but that contract job was 20 hours a week. Like, I'm still looking for a full-time role somewhere. And so in I guess it was early July, I had made a post. And about a week later, I had someone reach out to me, who's now one of my coworkers. And they said, hey, we're looking for a US-based developer, and we had a little back and forth, and let's jump on a call just to discuss things. So he and I jumped on a call, and he liked me enough that he said, okay, I'm going to put your name and resume forward to my boss, who was the co-founder of this company. A week later, I had an interview with the 2 co-founders of this company, where Monday they asked me, this was on a Monday, they asked me to submit a take-home. I had to develop a a small, just a web page. It was like a game picker, so you can pick from 6 icons of games and hit submit, and it would log the results. So I submitted that Tuesday night, and on Wednesday they said, "Hey, we want to bring you on for a week-long paid trial." I was blown away. I was like, "What?" This is, I was working, doing very like 10 to 20 hours a week at another contracting gig. And I said to them, "Hey, I'm not going to be doing this week because I need to give all my focus to this job, And then at the end of that week on the Friday, they gave me the full-time offer. So within a month, I went from posting, "Hey, I'm still looking," to finding this job. Now, the job itself for me, I think is such a good. It's honestly an amazing fit. So I work, like as I said before, I'm a design engineer at Pragma. Pragma is a company that has a few different products for game engineers, game studios. So they offer like a backend as a service almost for game engineers, just making things easier, like multiplayer, things like that. I specifically work on firstlook.gg. First Look is basically a game studio's way to manage their playtester community. So playtesters are crucial to any game's development cycle. Bigger companies do pay for QA in-house and game testers. But it's become more and more common, especially in the indie game developer scene, to have early access or public playtest or closed, but you can still sign up as a Joe Schmo and get into and provide feedback. I'm a huge gamer. Brad knows this. We've talked about this full times. Like I play games almost every night now, and it's built using Astro and Solid.js, and Astro is definitely one of my favorite frameworks these days. So the job found me. I felt extremely, extremely happy to get it, and it's been a really good almost 2 months.
Dude, that's awesome, and I love like the gaming industry side of it all, because there's nothing cooler than like doing technology for a product or an industry or a sector that really interests you.
Yeah, it's huge, because I was willing to take a job doing almost whatever, right? Like your first job in tech is the most important. It's the hardest to get. Unless it really pushed me on my morals, like I was probably going to take it. And that's really crappy to say, but I'm happy to say that I didn't have to do that. I'm at a job that I really aligned with, as not just personally, but the product as well.
How's it been working with Solid?
Not bad, honestly. I think my biggest qualm with Solid is not having access to like ShadCN, for example. Like we're using other alternatives when we're using component libraries, and I say ShadCN just because it's so easy to turn into your own thing, and it's so popular. So yeah, like it's so popular for a reason, right? Not to say that there's not comparable solutions for Solid, but there's a few things that Solid does different than React that I've had to learn as well. I mean, one basic thing, like we use signals instead of state, even though it does basically the same thing.
Dude, how good are signals? I bet they're awesome. I've never used them.
I haven't explored that part, that much of it, to say like, oh, it's so much better than state. What I do really like though is instead of using like a map, you're not mapping over an array. You can have like a for loop basically built in. So the for syntax or when syntax is pretty nice, and it feels familiar to I don't know what other framework it was. Was this Svelte? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Svelte has signals now too, so.
Yes, they do. Yeah. It's been a nice change of things though. I do feel like I really need to sit down, or I want to as well, sit down and really work through the advantages that Solid has versus React in this case, because writing it is very similar. Writing it is so similar, obviously, that like, your AI tool might get confused sometimes. And you're like, wait, wait, this is Solid. Like, so it's really interesting.
Do you find that now that you are writing code full time, you don't do as much after hours?
Currently, yes. And I'll tell you why. For the first time in ages, I feel like I am safe, and I could let my guard down a little bit, and I can this massive weight has been lifted off my shoulders. Just last night, I mean, it was like 8 o'clock, 8:30, and I was like, gosh, I really want to code, but I should just go to bed instead, or get ready for bed, I should say. Not that I go to sleep at 8 p.m., but I don't have to be doing it all the time. And so, like I said, I've been playing more video games, which is like really nice. Like, dude, when I got the job offer, like I cried tears of happiness,
Hmm.
and I laughed. Like I just couldn't believe how this burden had almost been lifted from me because I finally achieved this thing that I had worked at for, like we said, 4.5, 5 years, and all this stuff. Like, when's it gonna happen? When's it gonna happen? I'm doing all these things that I can do, and I'm just not getting anywhere. So I don't currently code as much as I was. I do definitely anticipate doing more of it though, because I want to build my own things still as well.
I find that when I'm fulfilled at work, I don't code outside of work. When I'm not fulfilled at work, I have to scratch the coding itch to build something cool. You know, if work is just like mundane or something, I got to go do something more entertaining.
That's interesting. Do you feel like you go through seasons of that?
Yeah, and you can almost kind of like correlate that. Looking back, I realize I can correlate this with like job happiness, essentially. If I'm
Mhm.
happy,
Same.
content, and productive at my job, in the evenings I play games, I relax because I'm putting everything I have into delivering well at work. But if I'm not into the job and I feel like I'm slacking off or something, I need to like make sure my chops are staying up almost. And so I'm like
Mm.
scratching that itch to code and build things and do that
Yeah.
on the side almost.
I think that's a really
I
interesting
hear
way
that.
to think about it. Yeah. Because
Yeah, and
I know, Amy, you have so many domains, and yeah, you've done these really cool things of building X amount in X days or whatever. Like, so how do you balance that, or how do you
I mean,
feel?
it's the same thing. And some of it just is like, is the challenge at work interesting? Do I feel like I'm solving the problems I want to solve? Domain name consumption also is on the same path. If I'm like anxious to build a side project, I mean, that's when I start thinking about domain names. Like, what can I build? What can I buy? That kind of thing. So there is definitely a correlation there as well.
I believe it.
I want to ask, what's like the easiest part of your dev job and what's the hardest part of your dev job?
It's the easiest and what's the hardest? Honestly, I'd say the easiest is like waking up and going to work, despite it being a remote role. Like, and that's not why. Which I'm also incredibly fortunate that it's fully remote. But it's been such a long time since I've woken up and said I'm looking forward to work, and it's not a drag, and I'm not like I've been so depressed before where it's like I just take the day off because I just cannot bring myself into the office because I just despised it so much. Now that's a non-issue. Now I'm like, I start my workday at 10 a.m. and some days I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna start early instead of waiting for work to start, kind of thing, which is really, really, really ridiculous to say because I never thought I would be that guy. What's the most difficult thing? Feeling like I'm not getting enough done, I think, right now. And it's no pressure put on by anyone I work with. It's purely just myself. I think as much as I do feel safe and grounded and comfortable now, I do not want to give them a reason to ever let me go. Unless,
Sure.
God forbid the company knock on wood, goes up. But like, so I feel like I need to always push my hardest. And I find right now that come Thursdays, I'm so drained that like Thursdays are definitely my slowest day of productivity because I'm beat, and then Fridays I usually come back a little bit and I'm able to round that out. But yeah, definitely like what's the one I'm looking for? Equally distributing my energy through the days, I think, to actually get stuff done.
Well, okay. Was it all worth it? Looking back 2020, right? Was it all worth it? Is this the right career for you? Are you happier? Is it more satisfying? All that.
All of the above, yes. Yeah.
Nice.
I think I couldn't be happier. Like I said, I think I got incredibly lucky with this being my first role at this company. The people I work with have been nothing but fantastic and helpful, and I'm one of about 55 to 60 employees, so it's not like it's massive. But I work with my team of about 8 plus the co-founder that one of the co-founders that I interviewed with. It's been really, really nice. I think that this job is literally life-changing for me. The money that it's bringing in is life-changing for me. I mean, again, quick rundown, like post divorce, I moved back in with my parents. That's where I'm at now. I couldn't think about moving out here because the money I was making previously, while not a little amount, just was not nearly enough to live on my own out here. And yeah, so now I'm like, oh, I could pay off my debts and save. And now I have this plan to move out in January 2027 because of this, you know? So it's
That's
definitely
sick.
all been worth it.
And did I hear you're looking at Austin a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I won't get too into it, but as long as there's no crazy more things happening in the US, yeah, Austin right now is my current pick. I like Austin, or I like the idea of Austin. I think I only spent a little bit of time at Round Rock, but Austin also being in the middle between Dallas, where I have friends and know people, and Houston, where I have included my best friend and his son, my nephew, and that's a big reason for me to go down there. And then I have friends in San Antonio that own a violin shop, so like Austin's kind of like the middle, even though it's 3 to 4 hours from both Austin, Houston, and Dallas.
Yeah, and Austin doesn't have to mean Austin proper. Like, I live in the burbs anyways. Like, you know, all the nice places to live are outside of Austin, unless you want to be like, you know, right in the middle of downtown, which is tough.
Yeah, I don't need to be a city dweller. I'm good.
Pick some plugs. What do you say?
Ooh, I didn't go prepared for these.
Here,
I'll go last.
I'll intro it officially. So we can enter into the next segment of the show where we pick picks and plugs. I think I've ever called it picks and plugs, where we pick something that we like and we plug something generally that we've worked on. So who has some picks and plugs?
Let's
Ryan?
see. Yeah, so I've got two. I'm just pulling up the links right now. Okay, so my pick is going to be something that I'm very happy that now I'm making money. I can't. I'm gonna send this to you, Brad, because I forgot to sign in, so I can't send it in chat. Sending it to you on Discord. So my first pick is Brain FM. It's a paid subscription service, and it's like the best solution for focus when I'm not having it. That is not taking a supplement or pill or anything like that. So Brain FM apparently uses like science to help generate this music that just really locks you in. They have 3 different degrees of intensity, basically. I'm typically on the medium or high level. I don't know. I think I'm also undiagnosed ADHD. But they are like, no, the high is good for people like this. And I've been using it for years. I unfortunately had to cancel my subscription, like because I didn't have the income. But it's pretty affordable, and I highly encourage you to give like a 7 or 14-day trial a shot if you find that you are looking for something to help a little bit. It's yeah, it's been my go-to for years since hearing about it on a podcast. And couldn't recommend it enough.
That's awesome. I'm always like a lo-fi type person, but this is like hyper optimized lo-fi.
They do have different genres, which is cool, dude. They do have lo-fi, they have classical, they have rock and atmospheric and all this stuff. I typically stick to the lo-fi and or atmospheric, because classical I kind of reserve to for my separate listening time. But yeah, it's been killer. It's not yeah, give it a shot. My plug is definitely just firstlook.gg. I know you linked it before. The homepage that it takes you to is something that I worked on alongside my colleagues, but this was the first real project that I worked on, which we revamped and overhauled for Gamescom, which occurred in August. It was a big gaming like convention that occurred in I think Germany this year, but somewhere in Europe. And that's where all my work is going right now. So I'm super stoked about that. The homepage and the admin dashboard is pretty sweet. So yeah, if you're into the game tests, go sign up. It's free.
Cool.
Yeah.
You guys are never gonna guess what my go-to music is. I'm not gonna make you guess because that would be revealing. Oh man, I'm embarrassed but also proud. It's Celine Dion.
Is it really? I would not have guessed that one bit.
That tracks.
That's
Brad,
hilarious.
that I got hooked on Celine during COVID. And I think it's
Mm.
because my mom listened to it. And so that was just very nostalgic for me and brought comfort of like this, it's going to be okay. But I listened to it so much. Like I'm in her, when you do the Spotify end of the year thing, I'm in her like top 0.1 or top 0.01% of listeners. But it's because now it's gotten to the point where it's like if she starts singing, my heart will go on. I know I've got to be coding. So
That's amazing.
but also she starts singing in French, and it's like at that point, like I have no idea what she's saying, so I can also just focus on coding.
Nice.
So I'll go next. Brad, sorry if I stole your spotlight or stole your thunder. So for my pick, the last time we recorded, I picked the Boya Magic Mic. I also bought the Boya like Mic Mini, and this is the size of my AirPods, but inside there's two lavalier mics, and then this little plug thing that you can put in the bottom of your phone. So I just love, for the size, the sound quality is fantastic. And when I'm traveling, I can just stick that in my phone. My audio automatically sounds 1,000 times better. I'll do it sometimes if I have to record a Loom video for a colleague or somebody that I'm in the community that I'm trying to show how something works and don't want to necessarily pull out my big fancy mic. I can just put the lavalier on and record away. So it makes the audio sound 1,000 times better. And it's cheap. It was like only $40. So highly recommend. For my plug, I'm going to plug amydutton.me. So if you go there, you'll see my portfolio. I am looking for work and am open to design jobs, developer jobs, either as an individual contributor or a manager. And I also have experience with DevRel. So would love to hear from anybody and everybody. Brad, what you got?
So I just got back from Universal Studios. It was an awesome trip with the family, and I watched all 8 Harry Potter movies like right before the trip to just like get versed on it. It was the first time I'd ever seen
Your
them in my
homework?
life. Yeah. I Butterbeer, man. I liked it so much. I had at least one every day, and I left with the commemorative glass. It was
Yes.
Yes,
so
dude.
good.
Do you have a swig?
A
You know what I'm
what?
talking about?
Is
So
that
we
like the
have, it's a
carbonated drink
restaurant.
maker thing?
It's a restaurant called Swig, and they call it dirty sodas because it's like soda with mix-ins. It started in Utah. We have one just down the
Yes.
street. It is like bad news bears for me, but they have a drink
What?
called, oh, why did it just escape me? There's a root beer one, and it tastes just like buttery beer, butterbeer.
Okay,
What?
I think one just opened here or is about to open.
You can get your butter beer every day.
No, it's not yet. Okay, I think it's coming.
It's so
Yeah, I
good.
think my wife saw that on like Secret Lives of Mormon Wives or something like that. And she's like, this place looks awesome.
It is awesome. I can confirm.
The
Butterbeer.
closest one to me is North Carolina, so I will not be able to check this out until I go closer. Sounds sick though.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I don't really have a plug. We released the Cloudflare dashboard, the new Cloudflare side navigation. People seem to like it, so check that out. Otherwise, check out my website, bradgarapy.com.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Well, thanks everybody for hanging out in the chat and for listening. Please give a rating and review in your podcatcher of choice. It helps other people find the show, helps us get other great guests like Ryan. But for now, that's all we've got.
Thanks everyone.
There you go.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end it.